All right, welcome on in, everyone. Welcome to our Breeze webinar where we're going to focus on Breeze Forms, how to use Breeze Forms, unlocking the power of all of the different areas within Breeze Forms. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. As people are joining and coming on in, make yourself at home here in our Zoom room. Grab your favorite cup of coffee, bring maybe whatever, cup of tea, glass of water, whatever you want. Sit back and relax and enjoy some time with us as we talk about Breeze Forms. So I'm going to go ahead and pop open a slide here as we kind of let some people trickle on in. As you're joining, I would love to see where you're calling in from. So there's a little chat icon on your screen. Go ahead and click that chat icon. Let us know where are you calling in from. I am located in Murray, Kentucky. So let us know where you're calling in from. And then let us know about VBS. If you're part of a local church, it is VBS season. So when is or was your VBS, and what was your VBS theme? So I'll kick us off and we can kind of go around the room with our team here as everyone is. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Where are you calling in from? VBS season. What was your VBS theme? And then, whoops, wrong slide. 1 second. Sorry, everyone. Okay, so I'll go ahead and kick us off. My name is Mark. I am calling in from Murray, Kentucky. And our VBS is next week, actually. And our VBS theme is twists and turns. So, all right. I am seeing now that the chat is disabled that people are putting in. So that's my fault. I don't know if I'm able to enable chat while we are on the actual call, but I apologize about that. Let me see. I don't think I am. Well, sorry, everyone. I meant to have the chat operating, but it doesn't look like we have it. But thanks so much, everyone, for joining anyways. We'll chat amongst ourselves while people are joining in what our VBS theme is. Yeah, Murray, Kentucky, twists and turns next week. David, what about you?
Hey, I'm David. I'm joining from South Alabama. I'm 5 minutes from Florida, so I am way South Alabama. And yeah, we did VBS the end of June. We did twists and turns also, which is probably going to be the answer for a lot of folks. I know that's been a big one this summer, but yeah, we had a good time. Of course, exhausting week. VBS is always an exhausting week. It's awesome, but exhausting.
Yeah, 100%. I feel that. They at church on Sunday, ours is next week, like I said, and at church on Sunday, they're like, we're having a work day this week. I was like, what day? They're every day, 9 to 3. I was like, oh, wow. Like every day, like that's a big thing. Yeah, I actually just enabled the chat for everyone, found that nice button. And so you can put in your name, where you're calling from, and your VBS, Vacation Bible School. So what about you, Jake?
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Jake. I am in West Central Georgia, about an hour south of Atlanta. So get the benefit of the big city, but not in the big city. So that's nice. Our VBS was a couple weeks ago, and it was not twists and turns. It was just a space camp theme that the church hosted. So really fun, cosmic stuff, and kids loved it.
Nice. Yeah, I worked at a church several years ago. Yeah, and we did it out of this world. So it was like a space theme too. I saw a local church close to us doing like a candy theme, like a Candyland theme. I was like, that's solid. I hope each night like kids get like pockets full of candy. That would be the best.
That's right. Fill them up with candy, send them home with all that sugar.
Send them home. Yeah, fill them full of
Parents
sugar,
love that.
Send them home.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, everyone. Thanks again. If you're just now joining us, welcome to our Breeze Forms webinar. We're going to take a deep dive on everything Breeze Forms, talk about lots of different things. So thank you so much for joining. It looks like we got a really good group here. And we will go ahead and respect everyone's time and kick it off. So to introduce our team really quick, my name is Mark. I manage our success team here at Tithely. We have David on the call. David is our Breeze CSM. He works really hard to make sure Breeze customers are getting what they need and that you guys are learning and growing with us here And then we have Jake, who is part of Breeze Support, and is absolutely a rock star on all things Breeze. And so we're going to be talking today about Breeze forms that David's going to lead us through. Jake's going to answer some of your questions, and I'm just here's a smiling face. So really, they're the brains behind the operation. So hope you guys are ready to be learning something today. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about our team. We are all part of the customer experience team. Our customer experience team is here 100% for you. We do everything every single day just so that we can be beside you and watching you grow. So our tagline here is by your side and for your growth. And we hope that everything that we do as a team, you see that come through, that we are standing beside you in your ministry, trying to walk alongside you and help you grow with your ministry, accomplish your goals, do the things that you need to do to meet the goals of your church, and then to see you grow, continuing to use different parts of our system, to use them more so that you can see, your mission field, to see your church continue to prosper. Some of our values here are customer-centric. We are all about you. We are here for you. We're innovative, always looking for new ways to do things. Transparent, we want you to trust us and to see how transparent we are with anything that may arise. We are solution motivated and partnered and invested in your success. What that means is your success is our success. And so we want to make sure that you continue to grow with Breeze and that you're always accomplishing new things and always having a great experience. And so that's a little bit about our team. I hope you see this and I hope you see these values come through over and over again from our team here. So as we kick things off, a couple, just a couple ground rules, not rules, guidelines. We have a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If you have a question that you would like for us to answer, please put that in the Q&A box. If you put it in the chat, as you may have already seen, things can get lost very quickly in the chat. And so we probably won't see your question if you have one for us. And so we encourage you, if you want to chat with other people in the chat, 100%, you're open to do that. But if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the Q&A box so that we can keep track of all of those and that our team can go ahead and respond to those. So Q&A box for those questions, chat if you just want to get to know who all is in the room. But that's one of the first things. And then today we're hoping that this will last around 30 to 45 minutes. If you got to jump early, no worries. As we're watching, I do encourage you just to sit back, relax, absorb the information. And then you will actually get a recording of this call following today so that you can go back and you can watch certain sections, whatever you want, so you can review anything and you can do it on your own account. And so sit back, relax, and enjoy, and hope you learn something with us today. I want to give you a quick preview of our product suites. If you've been with Breeze for several years, you may have noticed that in the last 2 years that Breeze has become part of the Tithely product family. And so you'll see that here that Breeze is here as one of our CHMS offerings. The Breeze product and the Breeze team is absolutely incredible. And so we have brought them on board and working to support the Breeze product well. That's why you'll see some of that Tithely branding and some of the Breeze branding throughout the slides today. That's because we are one. We have joined forces as a great big happy family. And so I just want to give you a preview of all of our products. And so you may be like, I've just been using Breeze alone for years and I don't have anything else. And some of you may be using every single one product on this page. But I just wanted to kind of throw them up here just so that you can see them. We have a huge suite of products to manage so many different areas of your church, be that having a custom app on a Sunday morning, having text giving, communicating with your members via text, maybe that's running some background. I mean, there's just so many different things. And so if you're using 1, 2, all of these, I just want to throw them up here so that you could see them. If there's anything on this screen that you're like, man, I would love to know a little bit more information about one or more of these, let us know. And we can get you some more information about that. Alrighty, so our agenda today, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about why you should be using Breeze Forms, all the areas that you may be using paper forms and how you can be using Breeze Forms at your church. How you can be using those Breeze Forms, I'll be handing it over to David on our team, and he is going to blow everyone's mind with an incredible Breeze demo. He's going to walk through all kinds of different stuff of how to set up those Breeze Forms. And then we'll talk about how to invite people to be completing those forms. And how people can be using them on their own devices today. And then getting started. We are running now where you can get a free 30-day demo for new Breeze users. And so that's out there, and we'll talk about it. But and then we'll finally have a moment of questions. Again, if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A, and we will get to them as we are able. All right, so to kick us off, why you should use Breeze Forms. You may or may not be using electronic forms at your church. Maybe it's something that you've been doing for years, and maybe it's something that's brand new. If it's anything like the church that I'm a part of, we use a lot of paper forms, maybe to sign up for the meal, what someone's going to bring, maybe to register for fall retreat, or to register your kids for VBS, or whatever it may be. We're using these paper forms, and our church admins are just getting so overwhelmed by the amount of paper and having to do data entry of all of those. And so using something like Breeze Forms, you can save yourself hours of time. You can make it simple and easy for your church. And so it makes registration for events, for example, really easy. It makes it, if you will, a breeze. And so maybe you have a fall retreat that's coming up, and you're like, hey, I need to collect payments for this. I need to get t-shirt sizes, and I need to know who's coming. And it's just all these moving pieces. Well, with Breeze Forms, you can do all of that all in one space. And so someone can go in, you can register, you can pay for the event, just right there in one place. And all of those admin tasks that you were worried about for your fall retreat start to fade away. You can collect data in an easily accessible place where your church members already are, right? Instead of using something like a Google Forms where it's going to create a spreadsheet, then you're going to have to look through the spreadsheet and compare it to your people database. It's already right there. You're using a form in a place that is already where all of your people data already is. And then there's no more paper forms or data entry. This is a huge win, a huge time saver for so many church admins. And then you can easily update profiles with simple and manageable people databases. So maybe you need to update everyone's phone number. You need to update whatever that would be, a t-shirt size or whatever for a church member. You can enable that on the forum, and it will go and update the profile so that you're not having to go through each and every person and making sure that their information is correct. You can just blast out that form and get everyone to update their information just really, really quickly. So these are just some of the reasons that you may want to use Breeze Forms. And I'm sure you can think in your own scenario, like why Breeze Forms could be beneficial to you. And I hope today, as we walk through how you can use that, some of those ideas may pop to your head. I mean, if you have questions about, how you would utilize a certain area, let us know. We'd be more than happy to help on those. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hand it on over to David. David is going to walk us through a demo of Breeze. So take it away, David.
All right, thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. All right, so we are going to dive into Breeze Forms. Before we get there, I do want to mention online giving. And the reason why is with forms, if you set up a registration form where you're collecting money for a t-shirt or for a camp or something, you need to be set up with online giving so that you can collect that payment. So just real quick, if you are in Breeze, if you've already set up your online giving, then there's nothing you need to do additionally to use forms. However, if you're not currently using the online giving part of Breeze, then I would encourage you go in. What you would do is you would click on giving there at the top, and then on the left-hand side, second down is online giving. And you would click that and you'll see a screen that looks like this. And so you see the blue button there that says enable online giving. click on that, and then just follow the prompts. And so what that's going to do is it's going to set you up to where you can use payments on forms, but also, if you're currently not using Breeze Giving on your website or your church app or something, when you set that up, that also gives you that option, to collect payments or donations on a Sunday morning or anytime during the week. And part of Breeze Online Giving includes text to give. You can see there, text to give is free. So there's just a number of benefits to using Breeze Online Giving. So first thing though, if you want to set up a form that requires a payment, go to the giving page and set up that online giving. And so we'll cover more here whenever we start actually building some forms. We'll talk about where the payment information is and all of that. But I want to go ahead and scroll the correct direction on the slides here. So when we talk about how to use forms, so there's a number of things here that we've got on the slide. These are the kind of the bullet points, how you would create a form, how you would use those forms. And then here in a second, I'm going to click over and actually walk through this in Breeze. But just a simple, if you wanted just the bullet points, navigate to the forms button at the top of the screen. Depending on your permissions in your user account, for me on my demo account, you're going to see here in a second, it's the far right. Some of you may have one thing after that, or you'll see on my screen here in a second, there's like 6 different buttons. Maybe you only have 3 buttons. So again, your access to forms is going to depend on your permissions. So if you go in, as I'm about to in my demo, if you go into Breeze and you say, I don't see forms, I don't have forms, well, am I not paying enough to get forms? Or no, it's all included. You just need to talk to your admin about getting that enabled in your permissions. So what we would do, we'll navigate to the forms button, go to that screen, and then there's a create a new form button there. You'll just click it. There's a few options to choose a type of form. Once you get in, you start moving things around, editing what you want, the information you want to collect, update the settings, and then click create form. After that, you share it. So that's it. That's the 1-2 minute version of how to create forms. Now, what we're going to do though is we're going to dive in and create a few forms and explain a few scenarios where you may use these forms, because there's so many different reasons, different things. I mean, I've seen people use, maybe there was a death in the church and they want to sign up, do a form to sign up who can bring a meal. So they'll do that, a meal train, using a form for that. It's Vacation Bible School registration. It's a visitor card. It's new member, collecting new member information. It's asking current members to update their information. So there's so many different ways that you can use forms, really limitless, whether you're in a church setting or just a nonprofit setting. There's a lot of different uses for forms. So you're not limited to, well, you mentioned Vacation Bible School, but we're a nonprofit, we're not a church, so we can't use it. Yeah, you absolutely can. It's customizable to whatever your needs are. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in over here into my demo account, and we'll walk through some of this. As I was saying, you'll see there's a number of options here at the top, and forms for me is the last option here on the right. Now I have gone ahead and created a few forms just to get us started. I didn't fill in all the fields and stuff. I just wanted to at least get this much done. But as I mentioned, if you're creating a form, you're going to click right here, create new form. And from that screen, you're going to choose general, registration, or blank. Obviously, blank starts from scratch. We don't put anything on there. General is just going to give you 4 or 5 fields, name, phone number, email address. You'll see some of that in a second. Just some of those fields that are pretty much standard, most forms. So you'll click that if that's what you want. Registration is going to include that payment option on there. But if you choose general or you choose blank and you decide to add payment, totally fine. That's no problem. So it's not a situation if you didn't click registration and change your mind later, then you got to start over. That's not the case. You'll see here in a moment that you can drag those fields over. But again, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. If you have created a form as I have and you want to make some changes, you're going to come over here to the pencil icon and click that for edit. Real quick, you may notice that I've got some folders here. So you can see I've got like most used. These are in my demo, some of them that I look at a lot. You can actually create a form on a folder on the form page. If you click that drop down, you'll see create new folder. That way you can organize it, because just in this account that I have, I've got dozens of different forms where I've tested something out for a customer, or I've had a sign up that I needed to share. So, I mean, when you start looking through that, over the years, you could have dozens and dozens of forms. I've seen some customers with hundreds of forms. So creating some sort of system, whether it's children's ministry forms or it's by year, 2022 forms, 2023, it's helpful to have those folders. So I do want to mention that. But let's jump in. Let's look at this visitor card form. So if I click the edit button, I'm going to jump in. Now, I started this with just that general form button. So you can see name, email, phone, and address. Those are the 4 fields that populated by default. If I click on one of those fields, you'll see there is an option to make those fields required. So on the name, chances are if it's a visitor, you're going to at least want their name. So you're going to want to click that required, and you can click on these different ones. The email, whether it's required or not. Also, whether you're going to send them a confirmation email. So on that email box, you can choose to send a confirmation email or not to, and then just phone and address. On this also, before we jump into kind of adding to this, I've called this visitor card, but if I click here where I said visitor card, you can change that title to anything you want. Also, you could add a header image. We have some of those built in, but you can upload your own. So let's just say we want the candy there as our image at the top of our form. On the screen that I was sharing a second ago on our slide deck, you could see it was like a mountain range or something. And so that was a sample of a form that I had created. But here on this visitor card, obviously you want name, email address, phone number, address. Something I would say on this, because a lot of times, and I think I even saw some questions popping up a moment ago, talking about does it capture that data, connect it with profiles? And we'll talk about that more in depth here in a second. But as we start setting up these fields, what I would say is if you want to capture this data and have it update a profile, you need to make sure that you're naming the field the same thing as your profile field. So if you have a profile field that says favorite color, then over here, you have to have this field called favorite color. But not only does it need to be named the same, it needs to be the same type of form. So if you've got favorite color and you only gave them 5 options, and it would, in profiles, it's 5 multiple choice options. Well, over here, if you want it to populate and connect to the profile, then it needs to be favorite color, and then it needs to be a multiple choice, and it needs to have those same options. So that when someone clicks black, which is my favorite color, black, then it's going to populate over there black. But if you left over here on your form a text box, but on your profile it's a multiple choice, it's not going to connect because it's a different type of field. So just keep that in mind. It needs to be the same type of field, and it needs to be named the same so that Breeze is looking at that profile and looking at the form and able to connect those things. So let's say we've got the visitor card, we're working on this, and we say, of course, we want name, we want email, phone, address. Now, we're not going to make some of these required because honestly, a lot of folks, if it's required, they're just going to cancel out of it. A lot of folks, they don't want to share too much information, but maybe they'd be willing to share an email. You at least want one form of contact for them. So let's just say we leave email as required, but the others are optional. But then it's also, it's nice to know, how'd you hear about the church? Or were you invited by a friend? Was it a friend, a coworker? So maybe we do a multiple choice here, and we say, how did you hear about us? And then let's just do family. It's always easier to type when no one's watching. Family, friend, coworker. And so that way, it's always nice to capture that data. If we want to add more fields, it kind of defaults to 3. You would click the button there to add. You can have as many fields as you want. Or if you only wanted 2, you could just click X, the X there beside it, and you could delete that. Again, it's set as default to be required, but maybe you don't want to require that. Maybe you have a text box you want to drag over, and once you can see kind of, if I pull it here, it's not going to drop anywhere, but whenever you start hovering over, it'll turn gray where it's going to drop that box. So let's just say, let's see, would you like us to pray for you in some way? All right, just collect a prayer request. Now that's a text box, so there's nothing here for us to complete on our side. But when they go in to complete this, they could type something there. We're new in the area, been searching for a church. Just pray for us, and we'll find the right one. Whatever. So that's another way that you could do that, and you would just keep doing this as many times as you want to collect that data. Now, if you wanted to put like a date, what date did you visit, you could do that. Now, if they fill it out the day of, if they're in your service filling this out, you'll see there's going to be a capture date whenever the form is filled out. You'll see on the next screen, I'll show you a couple screens from now, it'll capture the date that it was filled out. But just in case maybe someone's filling it out on a different date, you could always share a date field. What date did you visit? Again, I'm just thinking sometimes those paper cards that we have in the pew or in the back of a chair or something, these are some of those fields that we would put in there. So great information, and it's going to save you on printing costs because you don't have to print these things. It's going to save you. Here's something. I pastor a small rural church. We still have the cards, and my kid's job every Sunday morning is to go straighten all the cards, because every time someone walks by, someone's trying to climb over somebody else to get out of a pew, they've now messed up all the cards. And so every Sunday morning, my kids go through and straighten those. So if you have kids that have to straighten cards, they're going to love this. I'm not going to show it to my kids because then they probably wouldn't leave me alone about it. You've got to start doing this. So these are you set this up however you want to, and if you wanted to divide this up and have different sections, here's a section title and section description. So you can actually pull this over and you could title this, tell us more about yourself, and there it's going to show up as a different section, and you could use those. Now, there's a lot of different options here. Name. I will say this: when you're using a Breeze form, there can only be one of the name field, and the reason why is so that Breeze will look for that name on a profile to connect to if you choose to connect. So it's looking for that name. You can only have one name field. Now, we could add, and this is getting a little bit ahead of myself, but you could add a text field and call it name if you wanted to collect more data. We'll look at that more when we do a registration form here in a second, though. But name, phone. Phone by default is going to be mobile phone, but if you wanted it to be their home phone, you could change this to say home phone, or you could change it to say work phone. So just so you know, by default, phone means mobile. Email address, again, just typical contact fields. Text can be anything that you want them to just type out an answer. And then multiple choice, it's going to be those radio buttons. They can choose one. Checkbox, it's going to be a little square and they can choose multiple. Drop down, it's going to be just that. You click a box, it drops down a bunch of answers. They can choose one. Essay, I guess essay is if you just really want them to have some space to tell you some stuff. On a visitor card, maybe you don't want to use an essay form. They may tell you their entire life history. But then date, like we mentioned already, there's date form. Payment, not so much on a visitor card, but we'll see that one again. File, if you did that, I think it'll come in handy on the registration form too, but you could actually have them click that and upload a form. We'll talk about that in a second. So once we get done with the main screen here where we've set up our form, we also want to take a second to go over to the settings screen. So you can have a description. Once we look at one of these forms here in a second, this kind of pops up on the side of the screen, tells about, so this could be, you could type in here, thanks for visiting, please take a moment to fill out this form below. If we click show more options, if this were an event, you could type, the information like the date of the event, that also would show in the top right. If there came a time where you wanted to disable the event or disable the form, you could click this button. Visitor's card, probably not as much a thing, but if you had 50 spots, 50 tickets for an event, you could set it to a number of entries, 50 entries, and then you could come back in and disable it after you had collected those. Email responses too. Now, if you don't have to do this, you can see there's an option, don't email me responses. This is going to be totally up to whoever's receiving these. There's going to be some folks, I know, we all get enough emails. You don't want to see another email. You don't care that someone just filled out the form. You'll go to forms and look at their entries if you want to see it. So you may want to do that, don't email. But if you want to see the form, maybe you don't check in the Breeze form screen as often, so you want an email to remind you, you could type that here and you could add as many as you want, and this could be anybody. But as far as this next one, email responses from, and by the way, I'll cover these things here and then we won't cover it on the next samples because it's the same thing for each. But email responses from, So this is, who does it look like this is coming from when that user gets this? And this is going to be based on your user accounts. So you'll see this is very limited for me. I have about 110 people in my database, but I've only got 8 or so that I could choose to email responses from. That's because it's based on those users that live over here in the gear icon and then users and roles. Those are the ones that can email, the email response will come from. So you'll choose one of those. If you don't see a name you want on here, then you just need to create a user account for them. Then there's the confirmation email. That's what'll be emailed to them if you made that, check that box under email. And then there's the confirmation page. Once they've hit submit, this page pops up on their screen just so they know they filled it out. You can toy around with a few things on the appearance. I mean, even here, if I wanted to change the URL to visitor, I could do that there. It's easier to remember than just some random numbers and letters. I could change the color of it. This payment screen doesn't matter here. It will here on a registration. But if I save the form, so this is my visitor card form that I just saved. And now if I wanted to go over here and view the form, you'll see it pops up, and there's that form that we just created. Over here is that description I was talking about. Fill out this form. If there's a date for an event, you could have all of that information there. And so again, you'll see the little star beside the required fields, and then the other fields, there's not a requirement, a star to show that it's required. Here you see there's that second section like we talked about. Tell us more about yourself. Also, it's kind of a bluish gray color. That's where we change the appearance. There's the colored candies there. That is that's a visitor card. Now let's just say that I wanted to fill this out. So I'm going to do Jeff Jefferson, Jeff J at Jeff j.com. I always want to, when I'm testing these out, I'm always scared that I'm going to type like a real email address and then someone's going to be wondering why they got it. So
some random person's going to get an email confirmation.
Like, who is this and why are they sending me this information? So, all right. So then let's just say we put that. Friends, what date did you attend? It was this past Sunday. No. Submit. All right, so now they're going to see the screen that we talked about. There's that. You've successfully filled it out, and so they're done with that form. Now, coming over here, if we view entries for that visitor card, we'll see there is Jeff Jefferson right there. Now, remember we said it's a visitor, so this is their first time, and you'll see Breeze could not match that form to somebody, so there's nobody to connect it to right now. You can click connect because it could be maybe Jeff Jefferson actually goes by his middle name of Robert or something like that, and that's what we have him in the system as. So it could be that he exists in the system, but Breeze didn't see it as being the same person, and we don't want to make assumptions. So we click connect. If you know it's an existing person, you could click existing and you could find them that way. But if it's a visitor card, they're new, they've never been there, you could click new person. And what you'll see is after a second, a number of those fields will populate based on what was filled out on the form. And so you could just click create person at that time. And now we just created a profile for them, which I think was a question I saw pop up early on before I started demoing this. So we've just created a profile for Jeff. Now there was other things you saw that it pre-populated some stuff. Now on the left were the other options, and I should have showed you this before I clicked off, but on the left were other options. So if there were some things that you always fill out for visitors, the status of visitor and certain things, you could do all of that on that previous screen also. So I just happened to click create and I went straight to creating the profile. So that's a visitor card. Super simple. And I've got on my, I think one of my slides here, I have this, but I'll go ahead and say it. With a visitor card, one of the things that's great, like I said, you don't have the cards anymore on the pew, on the chair. What you can do though, and what I've seen in some churches, they'll create a QR code. And Mark's actually going to share a link here in a little while of a QR code generator, which it's pretty easy. I mean, you can Google those. I've used different ones over time. They've got some that have little icons in them or images or different things you can do, or some are just plain. But you could create using that. If we click share form, you've got multiple options here. If you wanted a QR code, just grab that form address, just that URL, drop that into a QR code generator. And then I've seen people where they'll take that and they actually have QR codes, multiple, a couple on each row on the back of those chairs or something. Maybe it says, something on there. It says, visitor, please scan and fill out form or something like that. So with someone's phone, they can just scan that right there. They're sitting there, waiting for the service to start, maybe, trying to avoid eye contact just so no one talks to them, depends on what kind of visitor they are. Some were just like, I'm here and I'm just ready for the service to start. So, hey, that gives them something to do. There's a QR code, scan this, they scan it with their phone, they can sit there and they can fill out that form right there. If you have paper bulletins, you can put a QR code there, you put it up on the screens. So many different ways. If instead you want to put this on your website or a different form, maybe not a visitor card but something else, you could actually embed that on your website. So there's a few different ways that you could share that. But that's the visitor form. Again, so many ways you can use this, but one of the things I really want to do is show you the camp registration and how you would set that up. And so let's look. One thing I just thought of before I do that, I just want to click here. This is a form that I've used in the past, and so I'm going to go ahead and click on this just so I can show you. I mentioned there's the could not connect because that person's profile does not exist. There's that. Then there's this one. So Carol, I entered this a couple days ago, and I intentionally did not change anything when I filled out the form. Like I used all of Carol's information that I knew was already in Breeze. So I used her name, spelled it the same way. I used her email address, her phone number. So the information I input was already on a profile, and I spelled everything the same way and I used everything the same way. So whenever I clicked submit, it automatically connected to her profile because nothing changed. So you can see there it says Carol. If I were to click on there, I would go to Carol's profile. On the left, there's a place for forms. And if I clicked on forms, you would see Sunday survey was one of the forms she had filled out. So that's it. Auto connects if all the information is the same, and it can auto connect. If that profile isn't found, like we did with Jeff, it's this, and you make it, you connect either to existing person or a new person. But then there's this one where there was some stuff that was different. And I think on here, maybe I will see in a second, maybe I changed the email address or I put some different information. This is useful for if you want people to update that information and you said, hey folks, we're updating our directory, we're updating the office's contact information, we're updating whatever. Pastor needs new phone numbers for everybody. So if you were to put together a form that just has all the contact information and you ask people to update those, then when they update that, if somebody's information changed, it would look like this. So Jim Jackson, connect to Jim Jackson, you assume, okay, that's the same person, yes, or it's the same person, or maybe it's not the same person, it's a new Jim Jackson, you would click no, otherwise you would click yes. And now, you'll see that pop up, or let's see, connect to Pam. Like I said, it depends on if I had some different information. You can go in and look at the person, or let's see. All right, I'm going to have to do this on a separate one. What I was wanting to show you is there's another screen that shows up, and it would say on their profile, their phone number was this. On their form, their phone number is this. Do you want to update based on what's on the form? Again, if you're having them update their information, you would say yes. And so it would update and connect. I'll do that here in a moment for one of these. But based on our time, I think what I'll do is I'll do this camp registration real quick just to show you. So if we click in there, again, basic information like we saw before on the general form, except now there's that payment field. And so, again, you want to require certain information, not require payment form. Now on the payment, perhaps you have, if it's just one, it's a camp registration and it's $150, and it's always $150. That's all you need. But maybe there are multiple options. Maybe it's camp and includes tent and sleeping bag. Maybe it's camp and bring your own stuff, whatever it may be. And so you have different levels of pricing. So you can add those in. You could add as many. Also, when you're doing this, something that's useful, you could put, let's see, pay later, and you're going to do 0, or you can have custom. You can leave that blank. And I'm second guessing myself. Jake, that's right. Is that right? I could do 0 if I want them to pay later and blank if it's custom and they need to fill their own in. Yeah. All right. That's what I was thinking. And as soon as I typed it, though, it's one of those things you just start questioning yourself. So if they wanted to pay by cash or check, then what this is going to do is it would allow them to complete the form without the credit card information because it's zero. And then they would just have to follow up, or you would follow up with them. Hey, you filled out the registration form and you said you would pay later. So we want to get that money. I want to mention something here because I know this is something that's asked a lot of times when it comes to a camp registration, a VBS registration, or something like that. This is only going to connect to one profile, and that's whoever that name field belongs to. So you make a choice at the top. Do I want this camp registration at the beginning? Do I want the child's information captured, or do I want the parent's information captured? Because whoever fills this out as name right there, that's where it's going to capture. So you may bring a section over here and put parents info. Okay, that way they know filling out parents information, and then over here you're going to do child number 1 info. And then what we're going to do, because you can only have the one name field, you're going to bring over a text field and drop that, and you can just put child's name, and then you're just going to keep adding different things. It could be grade, and maybe you have shirt sizes. Again, we could do that multiple choice. Shirt size, youth small, youth medium, youth large. And again, whatever other information you want to collect. You might do a text field, and any known allergies. That way, you're again collecting whatever information that you want to see. Keep adding that, multiple choices, check boxes, whatever. Now, here's where I mentioned earlier about the file. All right, let's bring this file over here and drop it. So sometimes folks will say, hey, what if I want to share a release form, a release medical waiver or something? Is there a way that I can put that on the form? Here's what we normally say. With like a release form, what you can do is you can use section description. And you would add a section, call it medical release form or whatever. And here in a section description, you'll see you can insert a link. And so we could insert, let's just say google.com, and we could call it medical release form. And then we could target that in a new window and click OK. All right. So you might would have put in, some verbiage here that says, please click this link, download this medical release form. So maybe you store it on your Google Drive or something like that. And this is the link that you use so that someone can click on it. They can download the form and fill it out. Now, what you want to do, though, now that they can download that, but then you want to have that form or that file field pulled over, and you would just say, medical release form upload. That way they could click on the link there or click on the button there and upload that form. It can be up to I think it's 8 megabyte. So it's just a text form, just a PDF or something. Be easy to upload there. But that's the way you could do that. And then you might even maybe you come over here and you have another section description, and this is maybe you have like a photo release, something like that, and you type out by attending or by signing here, you agree that it's okay that we include your child's picture on our social media pages for camp or something like that. And so you could fill out all that information there. And then what you could do, because again, this is something we'll have people ask, like, how could we sign a release, like a photo release or something? And you could just then put here, something like digital signature, and not required, because you're not going to require they sign. They're saying yes or no. So you could have that text saying, do you approve? And then they could do a digital signature. And we'll see how all that looks here in just a moment. But you notice I just put child info 1. If this is something something where you're continuing to develop in Breeze and continue to work and update different areas of Breeze. And so forms will be one of those that will update over time. Right now, there's not an option for sometimes you'll just see a plus button at the side there and you can add child 2 and add child 3. So for now, what you would do is if you set up child 1 and put this information and you knew, hey, most of our folks, like the most someone has in our church is 4 kids. Well, you might set up your form then with child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4, making sure that you leave child 2 through 4, everything is optional. It's not required. Just so that, if someone only has 1 kid, the others will be left blank. So that's how you would handle that. Now, going over to settings, we'll skip all of this because all of that's the same as it was before. But we want to come down here to the payment section. So this payment that you're collecting for camp, one of the things you probably should have done in advance, I didn't, just because I wasn't really thinking about that. If you have like a camp fund you want set up, you would go into giving and set up that fund. But right now, if you've done that, you would come over here and you would select that. Let's just say children's ministry. That way, any payments made here will be dropped into the children's ministry. Let's save that form. And I'm just going to show you that form real quick, and then we'll jump into some of your questions. So we view the form, and you'll see there. Now, this is given a warning from me. If you didn't do what I said earlier and set up your online giving options, this is what you would get, because I cannot collect online payments because I haven't actually set that up in my demo. I didn't put my bank account in there and all of that. So you'll get that warning, which will remind you need to do this. But you can see as you scroll down, looks the same as the other. There's that link so that they could, if I click it, it opens a new thing. Obviously, I typed in something wrong because it gave me an error page. But you click that link, it takes you to wherever you put that medical release. And then here's that button to upload it once they've signed it. Here's where, please sign below if you approve of your child's pictures being included. So they could sign as a digital signature there. It's kind of an either or. You could also have that included in your form that you had them download. But if you want a digital signature, that's how that would work. And then here you'll see includes tent, sleeping bag. I want that, and you'll see there that it's $150. Bring your own, $100. Pay later, $0. So you can see I can submit without a payment. Or if I go custom, now I can enter an amount. Now you would use this. There's a couple different things here. Like I said, I've only entered it for 1 child, but if you had 4 children that could possibly be signing up, you need to include you either need to include each of those options. So include 2 people, this $300, include 2 people, this $200, or say, please total up based on the number you have and include a custom amount, and then they could do that. So I know I'm going through that kind of fast, but what I would recommend, we'll be sending out this link later. Go back, rewatch it. But then, of course, if you have questions, I saw someone asked earlier, and Jake probably answered this. If you're new to Breeze, one of the greatest tools that you can use is going to be our Breeze University. There's going to be videos, which the great thing about that is, like right now, later you can rewind me when you get the link, but right now you're listening to me. On Breeze University, you can pause, test some stuff out, go again. There's going to be videos on a lot of stuff. So I would encourage you to look up Breeze University, and we'll give you the link for that. But that'll be a great place to look and see more about how you can use forms. But real quick, just showing this again, I covered some of this while I was talking through it. Looking at inviting people to fill out the forms. You can send it out on an email using that link from that share form button. You could actually embed it in your Tithely Church app. If you've got a Tithely Church app, which we encourage you to, it's a great tool to have. If you're using Tithely Church app, you can embed it there. You can use a QR code. As a matter of fact, if you scan this code, it's going to take you to that Sunday survey form that I had created previously, the one I showed you that Carol had used. And then you could send out a link on social media. Some folks even have, depending on what it is that they want people to fill out, you could even have an iPad set up or a computer set up. People can fill out the form right there. So again, a lot of things that you can do with Breeze forms. We've just shown you really a couple of them today, but really you could do anything that you want with them. Mark, heading it back to you.
Man, David, thank you so much. That was so good. So much information. Terry said it best in the chat. So much information, such good information. Hope everyone got a kind of their brain full of Breeze forms. Again, I know David covered several different things. And so we're going to be sending out this recording so you can watch it later. I wanted to throw up a couple resources here. So maybe you're like, I don't know how to create a QR code. We're going to send you a QR code generator, just a free resource of how to do that. Tithely Media is actually available. I'll send you a link to that as well, completely free. It's just like if you're wanting to any of those graphics to put on your form, anything like that, they're all free on there. You could get those. And then the launch kit, this is our Breeze launch kit. This has a ton of resources on there, like slides you could use on a Sunday morning, places to put in your QR codes, so some really cool things in there that you're not having to design yourself. So I'm going to drop those in the chat for you. So you're more than welcome to use any or all of that. All right, in our last 5-10 minutes, we're going to bring up some questions. And so Jake's going to walk us through a couple questions. Him and David are going to have those. We are running short on time, and so we may not get to every question that you have. Jake has been watching him furiously, trying to answer all the questions as they come in. But if for some reason we don't get to one of your questions, please email our support team. Just let us know. We'll be happy to answer those questions there. So Jake, do you have a couple questions that might be good for our team? Actually, before you jumped into one, I saw one in here that I wanted to address. So some people ask, can Tithely Giving work with Breeze Forms? So this is a big question, and just a little sneak preview. We're working on a Tithely Giving payment gateway that will go into Breeze Forms, so you can do that. As of today, no, but you can in the very near future. I actually was talking with our product team, and they are hoping to have that done by the time this webinar began, and it did not go live yet, and so that is soon to come. But Jake, I'll hand it on over to you.
Thank you, Mark. I'm so glad you helped answer that question there. I saw that one there and wasn't quite sure the status of that, so appreciate that. Yeah, so we have several great questions here. And the first one that I would like us to hit, I've seen this one come through several times, and I know we covered this briefly here in the webinar, but there's several here that are similar. So I'm just going to ask this one here. If I create a new member form for folks to join the church who've already been attending, will it create a new person, updating the existing entry, or do I need to transfer that information over manually into their form or to their profile?
Okay, so using if I understand, using the new member form, will that automatically connect to a profile, create a profile, or update one? Yes. So that's the thing that I was talking about on that screen where it said connect. If there's, could not connect, would you like to create? And then you can click create or manually connect rather, and it'll pop up that window that says existing person or new person. Existing, if you know, actually we collected their data a week ago, they filled out another visitor card. I've had that happen where I've had people fill out 10 visitor cards and I know they've already filled it out. So, if you know they already filled out one, you could just connect to an existing person. If it's brand new though, you would go, you would click that new person button, and then whatever information they filled out on the form, as long as there's a profile field that exists for that, and that's if you wanted to connect, remember, create the profile field first, then that would automatically populate and you could connect it and it would create a profile for you at that time. So that's how you would do that. And then again, at that time, if you recall, I clicked through too soon, but if at that time, if there's other information about them, you want to add a status. You're not going to ask them their status on a new visitor card. Their status is visitor. That's why they're filling out a visitor card. So you don't want to have them click that. You would just open that up and click it yourself when you're creating that person. Or if it's a new member, same thing, you would add new member on there.
Great. Yeah, and I love that you pointed out there too about those custom profile fields that are created having to be an exact match to that form entry field. It's going to have to happen that way for that information to make it over. So next question coming up, this has to do more with once the form entrant has filled out their form and submitted it, do they receive that confirmation email that their form was submitted successfully?
Yeah, if you have that email field and you click the email field, you'll recall there was a required button, a checkbox, so you require an email address or not. But then there was a second checkbox, and that one was to where you can check it so that they receive a confirmation saying you've completed this successfully. So they'll automatically see the screen pop up to say you've submitted this. But if you check that box by their email address, they'll also receive an email copy saying they've submitted it. And there is a field when you type in the settings, and I'm sorry, I'm off the top of my head here, in the settings screen where you type the body of the email, if you click the three dots, there are some mail merge fields there. And one of those mail merge fields actually could include, and I forget exactly what it's called, I think it's form results or something like that. If you click that and add it to the body of the email, what it's going to do when it sends them the confirmation email, it's going to send them all their answers also. So it'll say, you filled it out successfully, and by the way, here's what you put in there. And so that would be a way for them to actually see, hey, I sent this in and here's the information I submitted. Why didn't my phone number get updated or something like that? So that's a way that you could use that.
Yeah, and I even noticed we talked some about online giving. So if you're accepting payments on forms and you make those edits, just like you mentioned there, that form confirmation email serves as a great and easy receipt for that form entrant there when they're accepting payments on forms too.
Yeah.
Let's see. So one other question here, and this one's a little bit outside of forms, but it still applies to forms. So I thought it was worth the time here. So
Okay.
when you're accepting, you're getting all these form entrants coming in, and maybe you're doing it for VBS or first time visitor. Is there a way when you're creating new people from the forms for those people to automatically be applied to a certain tag?
Yes. Okay. So yes.
Throwing a
There's a few
curveball at you, David, here.
Right, I know. I wasn't thinking this direction. There's a couple different options we could different directions we could go here. If you go to the gear icon and go down to automations, you've got a couple options here. You can do auto tag form respondents. So if you click that, then what you would do, again, not demoing it at the moment, but just as I'm moving my hands, it's because I'm clicking and seeing it. So you would click on the left, you would choose the form that applies. So VBS registration form, click that. And then there'll be an option whether you just say everyone that fills out that form, or if there's a specific field, if they filled this out and answered it this way, you can do those options. And then to the right, you'll choose the tag to drop them in. So auto tag form respondents. If they filled out the VBS registration form, we want to drop them in VBS 2023 tag, something like that. So yeah, that's auto tag form respondents. And then just to take this even a step further, if you set up your event, now we're getting way outside of forms, but if you set up an event and you want to set up the eligibility for who can be checked into that event, you can actually set that up to form respondents. So in an event under check-in eligibility, you could click form respondents and say only the people who filled out the form are eligible to be checked in. That would just, instead of 500 people on your check-in screen, it's the 70 that filled out that form. So again, that's just another thing to go there. But yeah, good questions. All right, Mark, I think that's all we have time for right now.
Yeah, I think we are out of time. I know that you guys have a lot of other great questions. I'm actually seeing, I think, like 12 or 15 questions that have not been answered yet. And so I am so sorry we weren't able to get to your question today. I went ahead and put in the chat a way that you can contact our team. It's also on the screen here. You can email us at support@breezechms.com with any question that you have. So if we did not get it today, please email us. We want to help you there. We just ran out of time today. So go ahead and have that. Shoot us an email, support@breezechms.com. Again, you'll receive this recording so you can review it later as well. We also have a Breeze CHMS users group. A little sneak preview. Our product manager today put a little preview of what email is going to look like in Breeze here very soon. So some nice updates. So go ahead, go on over to Facebook, join our Breeze CHMS group so that you can see all the new things that are coming in Breeze and have a great community. We also offer some on-site training. So maybe you are sitting at your church and you're like, I love all of this, but I would love someone to sit down with me in my church and walk me through every single piece of this. We have that service. And so if you are interested in doing that, you can go to get.tithe.ly/on-site training, and we can get you set up with a quote for on-site training for us to come out to your church. Well, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to come and learn a little bit about Breeze. I hope it was beneficial to you. Again, we will send this webinar out to you. If you have any questions, email us anytime, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank y'all.